if you're anything like me, you are super excited for the footy season to get back underway for 2023. And honestly, like, I don't think I've ever been more excited for a season of footy in my life. I reckon, and I think pretty much everyone's the same. It looks like we've got most teams going to be competitive for making the top 8. We've got some teams that were a bit lackluster last year, pushing towards that top 8 and top 4 even. So I reckon we get underway. We'll go from the ladder from the bottom up. We'll do the Dolphins first, obviously, because they weren't in there. So if we go over their gains for their squad, it's their whole squad. And I think, like, you're actually looking at it, even though they don't have like a star as such, like, their team actually isn't that bad. It's structured well as an actual footy team, like as a side. Players are going to play for each other. Honestly, like, I don't think they're going to go as bad as people first thought. And under Wayne Bennett, I don't think it's a possibility for this team to go bad. I think realistically for them, I don't think this season they're going to make the finals. But I think honestly they'll be there or thereabouts and give a team a run for their money. So for me, Dolphins fans, I expect you guys to be around 9th to 14th come towards the season's end. Alright, moving on to the Tigers now. This is one of the teams that people are super excited for this season, and it's easy to see why when you run over the gains. They've brought in Api Coruscant, Isaiah Papali'i, Nofaluma's back, Charlie Staines, David Clemmer's in as well, and also this young bloke Tristan Riley from rugby, I believe. Their losses though for their squad, they've let go of a fair few second rowers: Luke Garner, Kelma Tuolangi, Zane Musgrove's gone as well, Jock Madden, James Tarmo, Gildart, Jacob Little, Tyrone Peachy, and Jackson Hastings is gone. And that to me is just I understand that they love Luke Brooks and they want to build around him, but Jackson Hastings is just a better footy player. I don't think that can be argued. But I think like their team this year is phenomenally better. They've got a number 9 who pretty much turned the Penrith Panthers around, and we also saw how bad Manly went once he was gone. Papali'i, another really good signing, strike second rower, gives them a punch and attack. Nofaluma back there, if they can keep him happy, that's really good because he's on his day one of the better wingers in the comp. And having David Clemmer bringing in David Clemmer as well gives them that extra oomph. And Clemmer's going to be able to help develop Stefano there. And they've also got a couple good young forwards as well. That Matamua, I think his name is. It looks like he's going to be an absolute freak. These blokes learning under David Clemmer, who's been there, done it, played Origin, played for Australia. Like, he's just that guy, really. So yeah, I think like overall their squad's a lot better, a lot more competitive. I don't think they're making finals this year just yet. I think there's still some holes there, especially like if Luke Brooks or Adam Dewey go down, they're kind of stuffed. Like, I don't really know who that next guy is. And even in their backline, like Charlie Staines to me is probably going to be playing Reggie's at the start of the year. So if they have an injury there, he can come in. But I just think a couple of injuries in this team's right back down the bottom of the ladder. But ideally, all things going well, I think the Tigers finish between 9th and 12th. So Tigers fans, let me know what you think of that. But onto the Warriors. This is a team that has recruited, like, their recruitment's been underrated. They're one of the best recruiting teams in the comp this year, which is like unreal considering that a lot of players left because they didn't want to play in New Zealand anymore. So Warriors gains, they've got Nia Corey from the Eels, Luke Metcalf, who if he gets given a run of games, he could be like a freak. Dylan Walker, Mitch Barnett, Chancellor Klukstad's back there, Tomato Martin's over there, Jackson Ford and Braden Williami, who I think those two are really good depth signings. Their losses, however, Ewan Aiken, Reece Walsh, Eli Katoa, Penne, and Jack Murphy. So they lost a lot of back row stocks there. But as I said, like, they've recruited well because they've brought in Nia Corey, Barnett, and Jackson Ford, who are all like second rowers. I think Dylan Walker packing that punch off the bench is gonna be really good. Chance, if he can get firing, playing fullback there, is gonna be like, we saw what he could do in 2019. Tomato Martin, we saw what he could do last year, and that was with no footy under his belt whatsoever. So another season, another pre-season, he'll be ready to go. My thing with the Warriors though, like, they've got Ronald Volkman there, who's been identified as their star for the future. Where does he play this season? Because you still want Sean Johnson there, and we also got Tomato Martin. So like, there's your halves taken up, and you don't really want him coming off the bench playing 20 minutes a game. You want him developing. So I think he needs another year like Reggie's. Although also at the same time think he's ready to go now. For the Warriors as well, all their home games this year are over in New Zealand, which I think is really going to help them. Like, it's a big away day for any other team, so like that should help them. If they can win the majority of their home games, they could be pushing for finals. They're one of the teams that sort of like, their roster doesn't seem like a finals roster just now, but it definitely, like, if all their players play to their potential, there's no reason why they can't. But I see them sitting between 10th and 14th realistically for them, which that's a positive from last season because they finished second last. So if they can bump themselves up a bit more, then they can look to recruit a couple more good players, and they'll be off to the races. Now, on the Newcastle Knights, who definitely underperformed last year. Their gains we look at, they brought in Adam Elliott, which I think is an unreal signing. Jack Hetherington's good for depth. Tyson Gamble, Jackson Hastings, and Greg Marju. What the Knights have done really, really well is recruit to their holes. They needed a ball playing middle forward. They got Adam Elliott in. They needed some. What the Knights have done really, really well is recruit to where they needed. So they've got a good ball-playing middle, which is what they needed, in Adam Elliott. Jack Hetherington's good for their forward depth. Tyson Gamble is good for their halves depth, and I honestly think he should be playing 5'8" for them. They desperately needed a half-back that's going to be able to direct them around the park and give them direction, and that's what Jackson Hastings will provide in bucket loads. And they also needed another winger to complement Dom Young and have punch on both sides, and that's where Greg Marju comes in. Their losses, however, they lost Mitch Barnett, Edric Lee, Momasea, Tex Hoy, Anthony Milford, Sawase Sue, Saulo, Clifford, Clemmer, and Randall, which honestly I think Edric Lee's probably the biggest loss, honestly, out of all that. David Clemmer as well. He's one of their best players last year, but there was issues with the club there, so you can understand why they let him go. But honestly, I think their squad is a lot. They've got on paper a really, really good squad, especially in their forward pack. And I think, honestly, finals footy isn't that far off for the Knights, and I think they're one of my smokies to make the top 8 for this season. So I think realistically for them, 7th to 12th is where I think the Knights would be. It's a pass mark for them this season if they can finish in that bracket there. Now down to the Titans, this is another team who I think recruited really well to what they needed for their squad. So their gains: Kieran Foran, Sam Verrills, Joe Stimson, Aaron Shop, Chris Randall. They've lost Jared Wallace, a bit of experience there, Asako, Corey Thompson, Herman Sasa, Sam Lasani, and Greg Marju. Now, the Titans 2 years ago made the finals. A lot of people seem to forget that. They had a top quality 7 there who gave them direction and let them use their weapons such as David Fafita well. I think Kieran Foran is that guy for the Titans this year. I think he's going to really unlock the way that Fafita can play, and he'll have another terrorising year just carving up defences. And Sam Verrills gives them that stability at hooker. He's a gun. He won a comp at the Roosters. People seem to forget that. He's a really good player. Aaron Shop as well. Shaw's not defensively on an edge. And I think there's no reason why the Titans can't make the finals this season. I also think they'll be pushing very, very hard up there. So I think around 7th to 10th for them is realistic. Now, on to probably the most hyped up team. I'm not going to call them overhyped just yet, but the most hyped up team in the comp for next season. And it seems to happen every year because Doggies fans, you guys are just so passionate. But the Dogs. So their gains, these first 2 names, unreal. Viliami Kikau, Reid Marnie, Ryan Sutton, Andrew Davey, Franklin Pele, and Hayes Perham. 6 first-grade quality, top quality players. Their losses, they've got rid of a lot of dead wood this season. So Jack Hetherington, Jerry Marshall King, who had a much improved year. They've also lost Paul Vaughan, Matt Duffy, Joe Stimson, Josh Jackson, Aaron Shop, Sia Manafangai, and also Corey Allen. Now, Doggies fans, I know you guys are really, really, really excited and reckon you'll make finals this year. I don't know if you guys are there just yet. Kick out and Reid Marnie are definitely going to help your squad tenfold. Reid Marnie there is going to make all the difference, and I think it's really going to help, especially guys like Matt Burton and Kyle Flanagan. It's going to give them so much more time, and just his presence there. He's going to get through a shitload of work. Really think he's going to turn the club around. Another one of their signings, Franklin Pele. He's an absolute beast of a bloke as well. So they can get him firing. He's going to pack a really good punch off the bench for the Doggies. Now, I think while most Dogs fans are excited and hope they're going to make the top 8, I don't think they're there just yet. But in saying that, I wouldn't be surprised if they do. Realistically, I think 6th to 12th is where they should finish this year. And then next season is the year they really kick on and push on to make the finals. Now, if you made it to this part of the video, you're probably what is going on? Why are you wearing a different shirt? Look, as you heard at the end of the Bulldogs bit there, we might have run into some audio issues, but we moved, so it's a different day. But this is the dedication I'm showing to you guys, right? I've come back for a different day to finish off this video. So we're on to Manly. Their gains: Kelma Tuolangi, Ben Condon, Cooper Johns, Nathaniel Roach. So Manly have lost a fair bit of experience. They've lost Kieran Foran, Dylan Walker, Marty Tapau, and Andrew Davey. Look, Manly are one of those teams this season that could either, like, they could make the top 4, they could be in the bottom 4. There's probably no in between. Like Tom Trbojevic coming back, if he has a whole year of footy and kills it again, like, who knows what he could do there. Seabold coming in is actually quite interesting. I think it might be the shake-up that the Manly need, because you got players like Jake Trbojevic who have been doing the same thing for the last 5 years. When he came into the league, he was a completely different player. He also might be the best thing for Josh Schuster, and all these other young blokes coming through. So it'd be interesting to see how they go. For me, like, I can see him making finals. I sort of see him being around the same position again. They are the 8th to 10th for me for Manly this season. Moving on to the Dragons. Their gains are heaps exciting. Zane Musgrove, Nick Luitoso, and Jacob Little. That's right. And they've lost Jackson Ford, George Burgess, Farmasili, Gajewski, and Andrew McCulloch. So good depth and experience there that they've lost. Haven't really brought anyone in. The players don't really like the coach, so I don't think they're going to start the season very well. Dragons just look like they're going downhill. I don't know, but at the same time, saying that, for Dragons fans, some positives you can think of though. If Ben Hunt plays to his potential, Amon keeps progressing, Sloan has a good year. Sloan replicates his form he had at the end of the first year he played. Sullivan comes in and plays well off the bench if he plays off the bench. Jack Bird plays his best. DeBellin plays his best. Then you could push for finals. I don't know. I don't really think it's going to happen. For me, the Dragons are going to be in the bottom 4 this season, 14th to 17th, and I would be surprised if they do any better than that. Moving on to the Bronx now. This is a team that, if you're a Broncos fan, you should be super excited. Your gains: Reece Walsh, Jesse Arthurs comes back from loan, and Jock Madden comes in. Your losses: Brenko Lee, David Mead, Tamade Martin, Ryan James, Tyson Gamble, Jake Turpin, and Zach Hosking. So really, apart from Tamade Martin, the rest of it's sort of all just dead wood, really. And if you have a look, he's in the top 4 for the majority of last season. So you got to get excited about that. There is potential for this team to do really well. I think Kevy and the Broncos are building something quite special. And with Reece Walsh there, it gives you a bit more of an attacking flair. Doesn't make your attack so predictable. And I honestly think there's no reason why you guys shouldn't make the top 8. The only reason that there is for you shouldn't make it the top 8 is who the hell drops out. But I think, realistically, for the Broncos this season, 5th to 8th, and I wouldn't be surprised if they make a really good push, and then push on, and then be contenders from 24 to 26, probably. On to the first team of the top 8 now, the Canberra Raiders. They've brought in Saulo and Danny Levi. They've lost Josh Hodgson, Adam Elliott, Nickel Clockstad, and Ryan Sutton. I think Adam Elliott will probably turn out to be a big loss. They do have Trey Mooney waiting in the wings there to take over that 13th spot, but is he ready for a full season of first grade just yet? I'm not so sure. I think he's going to be a gun in the future, but whether he's ready to make that step up right now, has to wait and see. The Raiders, for me, I don't know, every year they're a team I don't really get that excited for, but you've got majority of your squad, everyone's there is happy. You've got Jack Whiten, who we sort of forget was a Clive Churchill and Dalian medalist. We've also got Jamal Fogarty's there for another season, another preseason under his belt with Whiten. Savage will be better for another year. Nick Kotrick's going to get better. Your young centers, Chris and Tomoko, is going to get better. Darpane, Papali'i, they've actually got a pretty stacked team, but for some reason I feel like out of all the teams in the top 8, they're the ones going to go backwards. But in saying that, you can't write them off the milk. They're sort of the underdog team. They always fight super hard, and I think 6th to 10th is whereabouts they'll be. Same as this year, they might improve, but I've got a feeling they're going to take a little bit of a step backwards. Moving on to the Bunnies and Trommet. The only player they brought in is Saluka Fafita. They've lost Nichols, Nicarima, and Jackson Paulo. Now, usually with this limited roster turnover, I'd be worried for a team. Only bringing in 1 player, losing 3, but what's going on? Especially if it's a club like the Tigers from last season, if they had done this, or the Dragons with their recruitment. But with the Bunnies, I'm super excited about it, because we saw how well they played once Latrell was back from America. And they were absolutely killing it, on fire towards the end of the season. Now imagine that with another preseason under the belt and another year of all clicking together with Ilias at the half, and Dimitro as well has only been coaching for a season. So honestly, I'm super hyped about the Rabbitohs, and I think they're making the top 4. And I don't think if anyone disagrees with that, honestly, I reckon you're a bit stupid. Moving over to their crosstown rivals, the Chooks. They've brought in Brandon Smith, Jake Turpin, Jackson Paulo, and Corey Allen. They've lost Siwa Takiaho, Sluka Fafita, Oliver Gildart, Sam Verrills, Brent Tony. Another team like the Rabbitohs, who really in the regular season they underachieved massively last season. They had a really, really hot run towards the end of the season. I think that'll kick on, especially bringing in Brandon Smith, one of the Com's best hookers. That was like the one weak point they had last season. So I think 100% the Roosters make the top 4 again. Like push on and like one of the Comp's biggest competitors like once more. Onto the Storm, they've brought in Eli Katoa, Tarek Sims, Joe Chan, which if you don't know what he looks like, go look at him. He looks like an absolute beast. And Aaron Penne's come back to them. Their losses are Felice Kafusi, Brandon Smith, Jesse Bromwich, Kenny Bromwich, David Nofaluma goes back to Tigers from on loan, and Cooper John. So a stack of experience there, which is probably going to hurt him, I think. The Storm are one of those clubs that doesn't matter who they lose, you can never write them off. They've still got Craig Bellamy there. They've still got players like Munster, Pappenhausen if he can get back to 100% fitness. Harry Grant's still there, and they've brought in a stack of like experience and Tarek Sims as well. But in saying that, I think they take a step back for what they usually are. I don't know if they're going to be premiership threats necessarily this season. I've got them sitting in the same position as they were last season, really, like the bottom 4 of the top 8, if that makes sense. So I think the Storm finish between 5th and 8th in 2023. Moving forward to the top 4 teams from last season, the Eels. They've brought in Josh Hodgson, Jermaine Hopgood, who's like the best player in reserve grade last year, Momasaya from the Knights, Jack Murchie, and Matt Dory. They've lost Niakore, Papali'i, Kafusi, Reid Marnie, Ray Stone, Tom Opacek, Hayes Parham, and David Hollis. So a fair few good players who were in and around their top 17 last season. And that's the thing. I think they've had a lot of losses. Their gains aren't too bad. Josh Hodgson, I'm starting to get a bit more hyped about. Jermaine Hopgood's got a lot of upside. Jack Murchie's got a lot of upside too. But I do think they take a step backwards, and same with the Storm, finish around that 5th to 8th mark. Now onto the Cowboys. They've gained Jack Kajewski, James Tamo, Gamut Shibasaki. The losses are Lamelu, Gilbert, Tabuafido, and Ben Condon. Same story again. I don't know. I feel like, well, it's different because I think the Cowboys last year massively overachieved what they hoped. I think they wanted to make finals. I didn't think they were going to make a prelim. Like, I think, yeah. For the Cowboys, I would have been surprised to have a bit of burnout this season. I think they're still going to be one of the best teams in the comp, but I see them dropping back a little bit and sitting around that 5th to 8th mark with the Eels and the Storm. Onto the Sharkies. They've gained Oregon Kafusi. They've lost Luke Metcalf, Andrew Fafita, Aiden Tolman, and Franklin Pele. Now, I think the Sharkies are on for a huge year. 95% of their minutes that were played in the NRL last year, like while their players will be played again. So the only players who played NRL that have left are Fafita and Tolman, and those minutes will be like made up by Kafusi and Jesse Coughlin, who's waiting in the wings there. Man, the Sharkies get me excited. Another year of Nico Hines at halfback. Another year of everyone like getting to know Fitzgibbon's systems and stuff. I think the Sharkies could be a ridiculous outfit next season. I honestly think, like, I did my bold predictions video the other day. I had them as my minor premiers. I think, like, top 4 again for them, 1st to 4th. Now, onto the last team, the Penny Panthers. Their gains. They've brought in Luke Garner, Tyrone Peachy, Zach Hoskins, and Jack Cogger, who I imagine will play reserve grade, like, then replace Sean O'Sullivan. But they've lost Api Coruscant, Viliama Kickout, Isaiah Katoa, Robert Jennings, Jermaine Hopgood, Sean O'Sullivan, and Charlie Staines. While those losses are huge losses, a lot of absolutely ridiculously good players there, I mean, it's still the Penny Panthers. They've still got Edwards, Luai, Toto, Crichton, Cleary, Yo, Fisher Harris, all like so many freaks. Like, still didn't name like 4 or 5 of their best players. Like, and when you've got Nathan Cleary, not only the best halfback in the comp, but the best player in the world, there's no way that the Penny Panthers aren't in the top 4 again. So I've got them 1st to 4th. And I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they do a 3-peat for the first time since the 80s. So if you've made it this far, you're an absolute weapon. But make sure you drop a like and subscribe. Tell your friends about the channel, dropping videos at least once weekly, hopefully twice as you've got this week. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys.